Welcome back to ComeonyespursTV. We're back. Guys, it's only United, right? Let's do this. Chuma, I remember Sir Alex back in the day, and I can't remember what match it was. I think we were leading them 3-0 in the FA Cup, I think, and at halftime. And the rumor is that he said to them, I mean, at halftime, in his team talk, and I said, guys, it's only Tottenham. Come on, guys, you know. It's only fitting that we've done them what 3 times this season, you know, double over them and then jumping them out of the Carabao Cup as well. But guys, welcome back. This is Come On You Spurs TV. I've got Chuma with me, and today we are going to talk Tottenham. Welcome. How are you?
No, I'm super good. I'm super happy, hyped up that we won against Manchester United. It's only just Manchester United anyway. You're below us in the table, going through a horrible season. But before we start, let's do some housekeeping. If it's your first time watching, thank you for rocking with Come On You Spurs TV. If you click on the subscribe button, it helps you subscribe to the channel, and notification bell gets you all the content news every time we set it out. And if you want to comment, let us know how on what you think about Tottenham this season, the games coming, Ange in, Ange out. What do you think about the new investment coming into Spurs, supposedly from the Qataris? All this and more. Come on, you Spurs TV.
Thank you, Chuma. Come on, you Spurs. All right. So, as someone talk about, we have what well 2 games, winning 2-game winning trot, right?
Yay!
Yeah, and we hadn't won at home in a very long time at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. So that was good. It was refreshing and good to see, and also good to see a lot of the players back as well. Because before that, we had obviously like a very very cruel injury list, and people were getting despondent, and we had a lot of toxicity in the club and within the Spurs nation, and people just essentially turning against each other and saying, it's Ange, it's injuries. But you had a good feeling when the boys came back, and you could see that we had a very strong, really strong bench in the game against United. What's your take on that?
No, I mean, everything you said is right. It was a completely different change in how first the fans looked at the first team, and like this is the first time we've looked at the lineup and the subs bench where fans are like, wow, at least we have somebody to change it up in case the game goes any other way, or you have people to impact off the bench. I mean, none more so than the return of Vicario. You and I spoke about it off air. Like what a keeper, what a leader, the energy he brings in, the passion. He's just relentless. You can see him talking the entire game, and
It was immense. I thought it was immense, and we said Kinski when he first came in, he seemed like a good competition for that place, and we're seeing now that at least for the goalkeeper role, they have competition there, So I think he came back and said, "Look, guy, you're my boy. This is my spot. I'm taking this. You gotta come and fight me to get it. At least we know that even if they use Vicario, Kinski for cup games, and the Europa League, we still have somebody come in and do a really, really good job, and that's pretty sick. Now, tell me, man of the match, Mr. Spence. Gosh, Mr. Spence, what do you think of Mr. Spence? I mean, I know that he's been through a very, very tough time with the coaches in the club, and it wasn't just Ange who didn't use him at the beginning. Conte, when he was bought, said he was like a club buy, so it wasn't going to have him in the squad. So he got loaned out to Genoa. He went to
Rennes.
Sorry,
Rennes,
exactly. In France, and he also went to Genoa in Italy as well, didn't he?
Yeah, Genoa.
And so I mean, a lot of people felt that by the time he came back, he got in the team, and first went on preseason. He played in preseason. Played reasonably well, and the thinking was that he would come back into the team or be integrated into the fold. But somehow or the other, he was left out of the UEFA squad, and a lot of talk was about Ange didn't like him, and and he didn't. there's no doubt. I mean, who knows what's going on behind the scenes? Because a lot of people tell you all sorts of stuff, but very people know the actual goings on behind the scene. My take or my and it's only a supposition. I have no basis for saying this. I'm only just I'm speculating that he probably didn't have that great an attitude because if you had, I mean, and then and of course, Ant felt that he needed somebody with the right attitude and who could get us when we needed, when we were down. I mean, down in the in the trenches. He probably felt he didn't have that at that time, and I don't know if they've worked on him or had a one-on-one session or talk to him and maybe sort of get into his head and make him think, oh, fine, we can get something out of him. And lo and behold, I think that has maybe has worked in his favor. Some people say that Iron would only use him because he had no choice but to use him. But he had a choice between him and Regulon. You could have had Regulon in that position, who is natural left back, But so having him there, it wasn't. I don't think it's a matter of no choice because he had a choice between Regulon and him. If it was that bad, he would have chosen Regulon over him. What do you think?
So I kind of liking him to um, the player that used to play for Man City. I don't know if you remember him. Not too far long ago, he's Cancelo, João Cancelo.
Yeah.
But João Cancelo is more, I'll say, more dribbly than him. But it's similar kind of thing. They're both people that played as wingers at some point in their careers and then fell backwards. So they still have that mentality of being a winger. You have to trace Jed Spence's story back to Nottingham Forest and being on loan from Middlesbrough, joining Nottingham Forest, helping Nottingham Forest get promoted, and then Spurs were amongst a list of clubs that liked him and ended up buying him. It's only when players do badly that teams say, "Oh, we never wanted him," but there were teams that wanted him as well. I could even put the people down the road as people who admired him as well. But Spurs, Spurs pulled the transfer trigger first and got Jed Spence. However, it was one of those things where we've got club buy and coach buy. He looked like he was a club buy by Daniel Levy and not a coach buy because it was Antonio Conte. And Antonio Conte wanted a wing back that was older, more mature, more experienced. And Antonio Conte is one of those guys where I won't say he's spiteful or petty, but he can do quite petty things as well. So he's like, okay, fair enough, you're a club buy. I don't have to play you. I didn't ask for you. And he sidelined him. He sidelined him for an age, and then they sent him off on loan to Rennes. He gets to Rennes, and he doesn't set the French league on fire. He has some very good games. I watched quite a few of his games. He had very good games at Rennes, but he was never going to be bought by them or anything. He came back to Spurs. Now Conte is gone. Ange Postecoglou comes in. And the thing, like you said, I like what you said. There are certain things that go on behind the scenes that we don't see. It's the same thing with Tanguy Ndombele as well. Tanguy Ndombele allegedly came late to training 3 or 4 times. He was warned the first couple of times, and he continued doing it. And so Ange was like, if you can't be good, there's this something the Bible says, he that is faithful in the least will be given more. If you can't be faithful in that little thing, which is timekeeping, dietary requirements, keeping to your diet, keeping to this, then I can't trust you in a bigger. And with Ange, it's all about trust. If you read his books, it's the same thing. It's trust, trust, trust. He trusts in you, the player, but he wants you to trust in what he's showing you as well. So you looked at that, and Ange didn't develop that trust in that preseason. I think we played 1 or 2 games that preseason. I think the last game, especially, I think we played against Barcelona, where we in their new in the stadium they're using while we're developing the Camp Nou, and that was the emergence of Lamine Yamal. That was the first game we were like, this kid is going to be an absolute assassin. And Spence played in that game, didn't play particularly well, and start of the season, they farmed him out to Genoa. We just thought that was the end of his story because I was like, if Ange doesn't want you, then it's the end of it. So he gets to Genoa and he actually plays very, very well. Genoa. But Genoa were balking at the fee. 8.5 million. Let's think about this. For 8.5 million pounds, Jet Spence would be a general player now. But for 8 million pounds, imagine that. Look at how invaluable he is to us now. 8.5 million pounds, and Genoa could have had him. And they said no, they're not going to pay the fee. Levy says, return my player. He comes back to Spurs, and you could see it in the preseason. Every time this kid came on, he did well. Jet Spence did very well. And you're like, there's something there. All of a sudden, you start seeing him featuring more, meaning Andrew's buying into this kid, and it's like, I don't think he's going to leave. Then he stayed on, became part of the squad, but he wasn't part of the European squad because, in my opinion, like you said, the same thing you said about, I think the attitude thing was there. And takes training as seriously as he takes a real game. If you're not giving your all in training, you're not, which is, showing up on time, doing what you're supposed to. There are little things there. Like I said, it's a trust thing. And he couldn't trust him. He came on and scored against, was it Coventry in that pushed us further into the League Cup. He came on and scored. All these little flashes, these cameos, we could see there was a player there. We wanted to see him more. We were disappointed not to see him in the Europa League squad. We're like, oh, Andrew's going to regret it. How can you have 4 keepers or 3 keepers on and da. But Andrew's building. To me, Andrew's created a monster because by denying this boy, he's made him hungry. There's this whole thing now. Anytime Spurs buys new players, the video says, I'm hungry, let's eat. That I think typifies the Ange player. I'm hungry, let's eat. And Jet Spence was hungry. Jet Spence has built a hunger, and to also watch his family members video blog as well. Of you can see they're all in. He's in as well, and my goodness, back to back man. Like he could literally have like 5 or 6 man of the match games already. They're just certain people that are just elevated a bit. But if you look at every game, I can honestly say Jet Spence is no less than a 7.5, 8 out of 10 in every game he plays.
Yeah.
And that's
he has been really good, and he's playing out of position as well for that matter, which is
playing out of position as well, because we're all
incredible as well,
Yeah,
and
let him play the
his drive, you see his energy, you see his vibe, you see his balls. It's just incredibly energizing and stimulating for the rest of the team. He's such a good player. I mean, I can't even fault him at all. Jet Spence, take your flowers.
and the domino effect of this is players who are out of favor feel they're out of favor, feel the manager isn't looking at them. All they have to do is look at Jet Spence to say, if I decide to apply myself, if I decide to do this, there are no limits to where I can go. You're looking at the young players like on loan, like Alfie Devine. You're looking at Jamie Donnelly. They're watching Jet Spence going, like you said, shout out to Jet Spence. Also, a huge clap for Jamie Donnelly, who scored that monster goal against City. And we've always spoken about consistency. It's not doing it once, it's doing it over. And now he scored yet another one, a ball coming out of the sky for later on, and he just whacks a volley. Beautifully
that was a beautiful goal yesterday. He scored. Was it day before yesterday?
Yeah. He's literally, like they said they might loan him to a championship club. I personally think I'll loan him to a Premier League club if I'm loaning him out, because I think this kid, he just needs a couple more steps to be ready to fight for a first team spot. And yeah, it's looking good. If you look at the Manchester United game, if we go back to that, then Vicario had a wonderful game. Danso with every game is just becoming
better and better.
The deputy to Romero that we want.
Honest, I mean, you can see that he's settling in nicely,
Carries the ball, passes, simple passes.
And he's got a good passing range as well. You can see
that. He had a cross-field ball to his son in the first half. Wow.
It's not like he panics and just sort of, pushes the ball, And he makes timely challenges as well, Yeah.
Very experienced guy. Then you had Spence, we spoke of, brilliant game. Then you go into midfield and young Mr. Bergvall. You and I are fans of the young
Swedish
YouTube channel, Manchester United fan. Alice talks football. Yeah. And she's just, Alice was raving about, he had, not that he had, I won't say he had Casemiro on toast, but the guy just kept twisting, turning, getting out, moving. And he's a problem for a player like Casemiro to have to follow this kid, all game long, it's a problem for Casemiro to follow this kid. So he was really really good. The return of James
Mr.
Madison,
Madison. I love
Mister
that because
the
I
dark
think
player himself.
it's tough making the rounds on social media about how Roy Keane essentially trolled him and said, I mean, you wouldn't look at the team and think, oh, Madison would inspire you. And yeah, and I think Ian Wright, to his credit, said that James, you need to show this guy that like you said, it's either he took it as some sort of pick up his backside to perform, or just say just be have a grudge and use it as a way of as a crutch to lean on to for bad performances, But
Yeah,
he took the positive way and said, look, played his way into the match, and he really, I mean, he deserved the goal. To be fair, played well during the first half. I was on as well, I mean, I had people on our forum saying, why was he taking off? I mean, he's a guy who hasn't played in a couple of months, he's trying to get back his fitness. You don't make him play 90 minutes for the game, do you? You sort of you pace the input and recovery into the course of the match, But hey, like I said, I mean, when you got social media out there, everybody can say whatever they want to say, can't they? And like also, of course, we have our own views as well. We're on social media,
exactly.
So
No,
it's what it's.
but to talk about Madison, I mean, like, I don't think there's anybody in Spurs that can dictate a match the way he can. And that's not taking anything from Kulusevski, who you and I both love. But there's a way Madison comes back into our half, gets the ball on the half turn, and he can just instantly ping a pass, setting somebody free, crossfield passes, through balls. It's just this thing. There are these intricate little things that he's the only one on our in our team that can really, really do it the way he does it. With him, he can just literally come. He can take the ball off the back four easily, spin his way around, make a pass, set himself free. He can shoot. He can cross. It's just being consistent enough to pull it out in every game. And honestly, like, we keep going
and,
back to
and,
this
and
first
not
10
not
games.
be injured as well.
Yeah, you feel exactly, and the thing about it is, once teams know you're the main man, their job is, look. I was watching a documentary yesterday that they were talking about. I think the Arsenal Invincible, and how when they played United, that they always told Vieira and whoever was with Vieira, just stop that Scholes boy. Like, if you can stop Scholes, you've killed half their team, because it's Scholes that's dictating. I look at Madison. I'm not comparing him to Paul Scholes. Paul Scholes is legendary, but Madison is when he's on form, he makes Spurs.
Sorry to interrupt you, right? But when Paul Scholes was playing, right? I just didn't see what I saw in him, well, yeah, it was a really good player, really good player.
No, no, it's what's interesting is, I had this discussion with a friend of mine the other day. We were talking about Rodri. We're talking about Rodri. I compared Rodri to Xabi Alonso, and now you can even put Paul Scholes into that, right? When you watch the games, you didn't notice anything about Rodri too much. Like, you knew Rodri, yeah, you knew Xabi Alonso at Liverpool. I just didn't. I didn't understand what the Xabi Alonso noise was when he left to Real Madrid. Xabi Alonso. I watched Liverpool and I said, there's something missing here. There is something so wrong,
And
and I
that
didn't get it.
David.
And that's exactly the same thing with Paul Scholes. We talk about a lot of players leaving Manchester United, but Paul Scholes was one where it's like, you can't reproduce Paul Scholes. He started off as a striker, got into attacking midfield, and got back into center. So he's played three positions, and he's mastered all three to a point. So it's I look at him and I look at Harry Kane, and people ask me why I think. Sorry, come on, you Spurs Nation. We're going on a side rant there. But, like, people ask why I rate Harry Kane. Harry Kane is a striker that can drop deep and still come back and fulfill his striking duties. But at the same time, if he has fast wingers, they are enjoying life. Like, I don't think Leroy Sané, Michael Olise, and all these boys, they've ever enjoyed. Kingsley Coman is saying he's never enjoyed himself like this. That Lewandowski was all about one thing. Lewandowski is, I am scoring. He said Harry Kane wants to score, but Harry Kane also wants you to do well, and then he will still score. So it's the best of both worlds. And you look at Madison. You go back, bringing it back to Madison. I think Madison, if he can if he can be injury free, fully fit, there's nothing I think he can't do in his side. I just think it's possible if Spurs can get the reliable single player in defensive midfield they want. Either that being
And so my thing is this, right? So if we look at the team we put up against Man United the other day, right?
yeah.
I wouldn't say that that wasn't a really a decent side. That's one, right? And I look at what we had on the bench. I think to myself, where is this thing about Spurs not having depth in the squad? I mean, I don't forgive me. So do something right. So if you, I don't know, is it me or am I missing something?
No. I just saw it now on X. Someone put up a Spurs depth, especially if we get who we need to get, right? So the person put down goalkeepers. You have um, Vicario, Kinski, and Austin. Three goalkeepers. All three, in my opinion, are very good. Austin, I think, is underrated. I think he's a good boy.
Yeah,
Right back, you have Porro and Spence. If you want to keep Spence in his original position, then right centre back, you have Danso and Romero and Dragusin. Left centre back, you have Van de Ven and you have Davies, but
yeah,
we want to get somebody else as well. Rumors are there's a player called Hincapié that plays for Bayer Leverkusen. He's leaving at the end of the season. They say Spurs have been on his case for almost 2 years. He's someone that Ange wanted. Then you have left back Udogi spot. So that's Udogi, and hopefully we get a player. Personally, I pray for Ait Nuri of Wolves, the left back at Wolves. I think he's probably the best left back in the country. But people, because he plays for Wolves, you wouldn't really notice. But Ait Nuri he can play as a 10, he can play in midfield. So he's that kind of person Andrew would like. So if I have him and Udogi, then in midfield you have Gray, Bergval, Bisuma. All three can play that six if you really want them to. Then you still have Bentancur or Bergval, Sa, Madison, or Kulusevski. And then wide you have more on one side, you have Odebear and Son on the right side, and you can still play Tell in either one of those wings as well. And you
yeah.
have Solanke and Tell, and then Richarlison.
Honestly.
That is, if you'd started the season with no injuries with those guys,
I have Brian Johnson as well.
Brian Johnson, where would we be now? You know what I mean? And it's like you said, it's really telling that, Ange could make 5 substitutions in that game. United fans were complaining. They said, "Okay, imagine we had nobody on the bench." And there was that statement where someone said, I think it's Mark Goldbridge said, he found it distasteful that Ange put down Amorim's statement of kids on the bench when Ange said, "Well, I've had to imagine doing that for 2 months. That's what I've had to do." And he said, "How dare Ange? Because Spurs are not United. The pressure is different." I'm like, no, but it's a football club. Any football club that has to rely on kids from your under 18s and under 23s for 2 months, there's no way you will not be affected. I sympathize with United. I can honestly understand where they're coming from. But my goodness, we've been doing it. We've been doing it for 2 months, and everyone's been laughing at us and poking fun
And they do it for one match. It's like, oh, I mean, someone said, I mean, during the match, the commentator mentioned 100 times about injury ravage. Nobody mentioned
injury.
nobody
Exactly.
mentioned it during 2 months that Spurs was doing this.
Exactly. I don't believe there's an agenda against Spurs, but my goodness, sometimes
There is an agenda. I'm sorry, there is an agenda.
sometimes you hear them talk, and all they want to do is they want to take the mick out of Spurs, banter Spurs, and all that. But it's like oh, your club has never won anything. Your club has never done this. Your club has never done that. Your club is this. Your club is that. Okay, but let's take it this way. You take out 7 players. I keep going back to this Liverpool game against Plymouth in the FA Cup. If nothing else, that showed you the difference in quality when you put your B side in. They had Kwanzaa and Gomez as centre backs. We had Dragusin and Davies. Look at what happened to Kwanzaa and Gomez. How Plymouth put them under pressure. Liverpool. Why? Because they're not the same as having Konate and having
And
Van Dijk.
I mean,
Van Dijk.
Van Dijk, yeah.
It's not the same. Simicas is not Robertson. The other boy on the right wing, he's not any. Yeah, he's not Trent. You're not Trent. So once you see that, you saw exactly what, and then once again, let Liverpool play with that back line for the next 2 months. How will Slot perform? I'm not saying Slot won't win games. They will not win as many. They will not be as exciting.
Anyway, we're grateful that got our players back. We're looking forward to the rest of the season with obviously with a lot more confidence and positive vibe about the team now that we have what you might call a bit of more of the key players coming back from injury, and hopefully next few weeks more and more will cover and be available for selection. So that looks hopeful, looks bright, and looks what's it called? Like something one sort of looking forward to, with relish.
A bit more optimistic, a bit more
Absolutely.
optimist.
Absolutely. I wasn't going to use that word, but thank you.
Bring back Optimus Prime, because we haven't seen Optimus Prime in a long time.
I know. We would love to hear from you guys. I know our next match is against Ipswich on Saturday, 3 p.m. kickoff, away to Ipswich. And
but before we go, Soji, sorry for interrupting. Two things. What are your thoughts on the demonstration? We have to talk about that a bit. What are your thoughts on the demonstration outside the stadium before the game, and the alleged Qatari investment? I want to hear what you have to say.
Interesting. So for me, the demonstration they don't speak for me. I totally against everything that they're about, because you come to tell me that Daniel Levy should go out of the club because he hasn't bought players. I mean, that's absolute nonsense in my view. That's the first point. Second point is that he hasn't invested enough in the football side of the club. Where's the money going to come from? Where is the money going to come from? Does he magic money from some sort of tree that he's got at the back of his yard and make it happen? He's putting a structure there that makes that team sustainable in the long run. Okay, fine. Things haven't gone right the way we expect them to have gone right. They say, we have 42% of our revenue as a ratio. Now, 42% of what? I mean, people say that. Villa are paying 96% of the 96%. Yeah, but how long can they do that for? And 96% of what? So it's like it's a bit of a people use statistics to sort of knock Levy or sort of beat him on. But for me, I think that's one of the very best things that has happened to that club as a club, because look at the number of semi-finals we've been in that time. How many clubs will post that number? I'm not saying success is semi-finals or anything like that, but I'm saying that, look, for the revenue we had, for the structure we had before he came in, and to where we are today, sorry, you cannot tell me that he hasn't done a good job. You cannot tell me. There's no way, plenty of errors, okay, fine, okay, very, very hard on negotiation. That's the nature of the business. And some people say that, look, you have these two ways of running the club. You can run the club as a fan and run into the ground, and people will hail you, or you run it as a business, and hopefully that business becomes sustainable going on in the long run. For me, I prefer the second model, whereby we have something that we don't need to go to the sugar daddy. We don't need to go to where, we have a system that runs and ensures that we have enough revenue that pays our way, and you don't build. Okay, fine. We have what we've had in Premier League history, right? How many clubs have won? How many clubs in Premier League history? 6 tops, right? Now, do we have the divine right to win? Of course not. You know what I'm saying, right? So it's of course fans want to win. I'm not saying that we shouldn't win or we shouldn't aspire to win. But it's not no one can guarantee that. No one can guarantee that. And if you can't guarantee that, you've got to minimize your risk. You've got to mitigate your risk and ensure that, look, you make yourself as sustainable as possible, both in the short, medium, and long term. And I think he's done a great job in that respect. We not had success as much as we have.
Sorry for cutting you in, but the same thing too, like you just said now, by being sustainable, by handling the club in the way he has financially, it's actually made him attractive to the so-called Qatari investment. So they like the fact that he's kept this club at this particular point. They can come in. They're not looking to, from what I read this morning from a guy who is like a very reliable source on a lot of things Spurs. He says they like the fact that Levy runs the club the way he does. So now they're not coming in to be a sugar daddy, but they're coming to help an already sustainable thing and win the hearts of the people. They're not trying to buy the league.
Yeah.
But here's the really interesting part. The very same people who, majority of those people who were in the crowd or who were part of the people protesting, they are actually against the Qataris taking over because of the Qataris, quote unquote human rights records and stuff like that. So it's like, so at what point, how can you ever satisfy the football fan?
This
That's
is
the
it.
real question.
So it tells you that any manager who knows his onions, or any chairman who knows his onions, would listen to his fans and say, "Thank you very much. Yeah, I've heard you. Thank you." Or do what he needs to do. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, if you listen to our fans forums, you're going to get distracted. Honestly, because they don't understand what running the club involves. Honestly, most fans. I'm not saying that in a negative or derogatory way, but fans want success at any cost. But I mean, there's so many stories of how things have gone pear shaped. And I mean, I think Qatari investment welcome. Daniel Levy, stay put. My view, please. That's my opinion. I'd love to hear from you guys. I know that people will probably come and say that they have, a different opinion. By all means, please, love to hear from you and see what you think. Yeah.
Exactly. Let us know your thoughts on the protests, on the investment, and should Daniel Levy still go, even because the Qataris are planning to still leave him there as a chief executive? Will that satisfy you? Will that, horrify you? Let us know. But as always, it's been a great show. Thank you so much, Shoji.
Come on, you
Appreciate it.
Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.